There is a giant hiding in plain sight on every street corner from New York to New Delhi. It is a brand that has more locations than McDonald's, more reach than Starbucks, and a footprint so massive it practically defines the modern fast food landscape. But while the world sees a thriving empire of sandwiches, the reality behind the green and yellow sign is a story of psychological manipulation, aggressive expansion, and a desperate struggle for survival that threatens to topple the entire kingdom. You walk past it every day, but you have no idea that the world's largest restaurant chain is fighting a war against its own shadow. Welcome to Zero to Billion, where we uncover how brands rise from nothing to global dominance and the hidden price they pay to stay at the top. The year was 1965. A 17-year-old boy named Fred DeLuca needed money for medical school. He didn't have a revolutionary tech idea or a secret family recipe. He had $100 loan and a dream of selling submarine sandwiches. At the time, the fast food world was obsessed with grease, burgers, and deep fryers. DeLuca took a different path. He decided to sell freshness. He decided to sell health. But more importantly, he decided to sell a system. What started as a single shop in Bridgeport, Connecticut, wasn't just a deli. It was the prototype for a viral business model that would eventually colonize the planet. By the 1980s, Subway had cracked the code of exponential growth. While competitors like McDonald's required millions of dollars in liquid capital and massive real estate to open a single location, Subway made it easy. They made it cheap. They targeted the middle class, the dreamers, and the first-time entrepreneurs. For a fraction of the cost of a burger franchise, you could own a Subway. This was the masterstroke. Subway didn't grow by building restaurants. They grew by selling the American dream to anyone with a few $1,000s and a passion for hard work. The expansion was relentless. They popped up in gas stations, inside laundromats at churches, and even inside shipping containers. If there was a square meter of empty space, Subway found a way to put a toaster and a bread oven in it. By 2010, they did the unthinkable. They officially surpassed McDonald's as the largest restaurant chain on earth by store count. They were the undisputed kings of the hill. But as any empire builder will tell you, the faster you climb, the thinner the air becomes. Underneath the surface of this rapid-fire expansion, a toxic phenomenon was brewing: internal cannibalization. Because Subway's goal was total world or total street dominance, they didn't care if one Subway opened across the street from another Subway. In their eyes, more stores meant more royalty fees flowing back to headquarters. But for the individual franchise owners, it was a nightmare. They weren't just competing with McDonald's or KFC, they were competing with themselves. The brand was eating its own children. The zero to billion journey was working for the corporation, but the soldiers on the front lines were starting to bleed. Then came the psychological pivot that changed marketing history. In the early 2000s, Subway found their golden ticket, the weight loss narrative. They didn't just sell sandwiches anymore. They sold a lifestyle. They convinced an entire generation that eating a foot-long loaf of bread was the secret to a six-pack. It was a brilliant, calculated move that exploited the growing health consciousness of the West. For a decade, they were untouchable. Revenue skyrocketed and the green logo became a symbol of clean eating. But pride always comes before the fall, and for Subway, the fall would be public, painful, and deeply personal. In 2015, the face of the brand was involved in a scandal so dark it shook the company to its core. Simultaneously, the founder, Fred DeLuca, passed away. The ship was losing its captain and its reputation at the exact same moment. But the problems weren't just external. The very thing that made Subway great, its simplicity, became its curse. While competitors like Chipotle and Panera Bread began offering high-quality, artisanal ingredients and modern digital experiences, Subway felt stuck in 1995. The bread started to taste like cardboard to a more sophisticated public. The fresh narrative was being questioned by courts in Ireland, who famously ruled that Subway's bread contained so much sugar it technically qualified as cake. The world's largest title became a heavy crown, With over 40,000 locations, quality control became impossible. The brand was spread too thin. Suddenly, the news wasn't about new store openings. It was about mass closures. Thousands of locations began to shut their doors. The dream they sold to franchisees had turned into a debt trap. The tension between the corporate office and the store owners reached a breaking point. Protests, lawsuits, and public outcries became the new norm for a brand that once promised a simple path to wealth. But this was only the beginning of their attempted comeback. In recent years, Subway has embarked on a multi-billion-dollar Eat Fresh refresh. They are trying to claw their way back into the hearts of Gen Z. They are changing the menus, the store designs, and the very way they slice their meat. They are fighting to prove that they aren't just a relic of the past, but a titan capable of evolution. It is a high-stakes gamble. If they succeed, it will be the greatest corporate redemption story in history. If they fail, they will become a case study in how a billion-dollar empire can crumble under the weight of its own ambition. The story of Subway is a lesson in the dangers of growth for the sake of growth. It reminds us that dominance is not the same as relevance. You can own every corner of the world, but if you lose the trust of the person walking through the door, your empire is built on sand. They went from 0 to a billion by making things simple, but they stayed at the top by making things complicated. What happened next changed everything. In 2023, the company was finally sold to a private equity firm for nearly $10 billion. The era of family ownership was over. The future of the sandwich giant now rests in the hands of Wall Street analysts and efficiency experts. Will they restore the glory of the green and gold, or will they squeeze the last bits of profit out of a dying giant? Only time will tell. As we look at the empty storefronts and the shiny new digital kiosks, we see the duality of power. To build something great, you must be fearless. To keep it great, you must be humble. Subway's journey is a reflection of our own obsession with scale and the inevitable reality that nothing stays at the top forever without a soul. This is 0 to billion, where stories turn into lessons, where we look past the balance sheets to find the human heart of the world's most powerful brands. The road to a billion is paved with difficult choices, and as Subway has shown us, the hardest part isn't getting there, it's staying there. If you found value in this deep dive into the psychology of business, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell us in the comments, do you think Subway can ever be fresh again? Join the community of thinkers and builders. Subscribe and become part of the journey.